Do you wish that you were a reader? Do you wish that you had time to read one book a week? Do you wish that you had time to read one book a month? Or maybe do you wish that you could be bothered to read one book a month? Or even, God forbid, one book a year? Well, what if I told you that you could read a book in 15 minutes? Then I might have a solution for you. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and today I'm talking about reading again. So I tend to read a lot, and every now and then I come across really good books that I think friends or family could really benefit from, because I've gotten a lot of benefit out of them myself. And so I recommend them to my friends and family, but I often hear back that people can't be bothered reading, they don't have time to read, and I really can't understand. I wasn't really a reader until maybe 2 or 3 years ago when I really started getting into it, and I just didn't have the time, didn't have the inclination, didn't have the patience to sit down and read, like a 5 to 8 hour long book just for a couple of lessons. But one thing that I've thought, and I've heard a lot of people say to me, is that they wish they could get the content and the lessons from a really good book in a summarized and short form. Then they could get the key points and the lessons from the book without having to invest all those hours into actually reading it. Now, of course, the solution is book summaries. Now, I think there's really a lot to be said about reading the full-length books, and you could probably tell that from other videos I've got on my channel, so feel free to check out my reading playlist for other book content. But I think there's actually some really good benefits from reading book summaries, and I've only really personally started to discover them in the last few months, so I thought I'd share them in this video. For me, I think there are really two key benefits to reading a book summary. First, reading a book summary is a great way of getting a sense of whether you want to read the full length of a book. I've personally found that one of the biggest challenges of reading a lot is actually finding the next book to read, because I don't really want to invest 4 to even 20 hours of my time in a book that's kind of not useful or boring or a waste of time. And so reading through a quick 15-minute book summary is a great way of helping me decide, is this the kind of book I want to read, or is this a book that I should leave for later, or is this a book that's probably kind of boring and useless and I don't really want to read it. So maybe there's books out there that you've heard of that you're not quite sure what they're about, but you know that they're classics or they're recommended by friends, and you just want to get a sense of what the book itself is about. A book summary is a great way of figuring out whether or not you want to read the actual book itself. Now, the second benefit, I think, of reading book summaries is that you can get the gist of the key components or the key lessons or key points of a given book without having to read all the extra material and content around that point. Now, obviously, reading a really stripped back form of a book, it's debatable how much of that information you'll actually retain, because I think there's a lot in spending time mulling over and reading and thinking about a book as you read it in a long form. But a short summarized version of a book is a great springboard, I think, in terms of introducing you to new concepts, learning new ideas. And I've found that even just hearing a whole different perspective, even in short form, sometimes can be a catalyst to a whole change in the way that I think. So I think there's definitely a lot of value in reading book summaries to get the key points and learn new ideas without having to read the full length of the book. And obviously, reading a book summary is infinitely better than not reading the book at all, because at least you're being exposed to those concepts and ideas, whereas if you don't read the book at all, you're never going to be exposed to them in the first place. So there's a lot of different book summary websites and services out there, but one that was recently brought to my attention, which is actually really good, is called Headway. Headway is an app that's full of heaps of popular non-fiction book summaries that you can both read the text of and listen to. And as you probably know if you've seen some of my videos, I'm a sucker for a good audiobook, so I love the audio feature in Headway. So I thought I'd go through my top favorite books on the Headway app to give you an idea of the type of books you can get on the app. But first, Headway was actually kind enough to reach out and be my first official sponsor for a video. So thank you so much to Headway. I just wanted to share some of the cool features of the app itself. Headway specializes in non-fiction books relating to health, self-development, business, and more. It's actually pretty cool, as when you sign up, you ask for your preferences in regards to books and reading, and this helps the app give you personalized recommendations for books to read. Once you're inside, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial and start browsing the books, and you'll be given recommendations based on your preferences, which is actually really useful. And I've gotten some really accurate recommendations of books that I've either read before that I really liked, or books that I'm really interested in reading. There are also collections and challenges based on topics and goals, which is a cool way of reading through books around a particular topic. And also it's a good way of finding new books based on a topic if you're not really sure where to start. There's also a repetition feature that lets you review key points from books you've already read to help you remember them better, which is great. And there's also a reading stats tab, which is really handy. I'm a huge sucker for good stats, and they really help you stay on track with your personal reading goals. So with that said, here are my top 8 favorite books on Headway in no particular order. So number 1, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan B. Peterson. This was actually one of those books that I've heard about a lot, but I'd never read, and I listened to the book summary on Headway, and it really piqued my interest, so I decided to pick up the full version and read through that, and I loved both. Number 2 is Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. This is a classic that I've wanted to read for a while, and it was, again, a really good way of being introduced to some of his concepts, and it's definitely on my to-read list for the full-length version. Number 3 is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's a really great book on leadership and how to inspire people to take action. Number 4 is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I've mentioned it before in other YouTube videos, and I love the full-length version, and the book summary is also a good place to start. Number 5 is Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. If you've never read this, it's a great book. Some of the concepts are amazing, and they have revolutionized the way I've done business in the past, so I highly recommend if you're in business. Number 6, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Now, if you have seen the full-length book, it's like this thick. So it's a massive book. I started reading the full-length version, but I couldn't finish it because it was too long. So the book summary is a great way of getting those key concepts without having to slog through the massive investing Bible, as they call it. Number 7 is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Now, this is a really great book on leadership. It's one of the best ones I've read. Now, if you've ever read anything about leadership, you've probably heard of John Maxwell, and this is one of his classics. It's a great starting point if you're interested in the topic of leadership. And finally, number 8 is The Introverted Leader by Jennifer Kahnweiler. And this is another really great book on leadership, particularly for those of us who are a bit more introverted, and how you can use that to your advantage as a leader. So as you can see, there's some really great books on the Headway app, and I think it's a really great way to try out books quickly if you're not quite sure if you want to read it or not. And it's also just a really great way of getting good concepts, learning new lessons, and getting more wisdom into your day-to-day life in a really quick and easy format. If you're keen to try the Headway app out, I'll leave a link in the description so you can check that out. And again, if you're interested in more reading videos, then check out my reading playlist. I've got plenty on there. Other than that, I hope you have an absolutely brilliant day, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.